Yeah. So welcome everybody, and welcome and thank you, Lorri, for taking the time out. I know that this is an insanely busy time of year. I mean, you're busy all year round. It's all I see you doing, loads of stuff all the time. But we are really thrilled to have you here. Personally, I'm delighted to have access to you as well, because I've been following you for a while and I love your stuff and I love your story. And we've got loads of questions for you. And I think, just for everyone else's benefit, at the start, we were just chatting about sort of activism and the different types of activism and doing it in a positive way. And I think you have really showcased that so well about how we can be positive activists in our daily life without, we don't all have to go marching and hold placards and protest outside supermarkets. There's a type of activism for everyone, no matter what our personality is, or no matter what our lives are like, whether we're busy, have kids, have all sorts of activities or whatnot. So I'm going to shut up now and I'm going to hand over to Rachel to kick us off. I'm just so excited. But yeah, please guys, ask loads of questions, and thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi there, Lorri. As Lauren says, we have lots of questions for you, so I hope you're ready.
Perfect.
But we'll just start off with asking, can you just tell us a bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and talk about kind of how you got here, really?
Yeah, for sure. So I was 59 on Saturday. And I set up Vegan Happy 5 years ago, very soon after I went vegan. And I didn't mean to go vegan. I think I was saying I didn't mean to go vegan. It almost happened to me. So I was out late one night and my dog had an accident, and we just moved house. So I thought, I need to find a vet. And the vet said, it's going to cost you a fortune. It's like 1 a.m. And I was like, I don't care. It's my dog. It's my dog. I need to sort my dog out. So I went off with my husband was crying. I've got a dog that needs help. I'm going to the vets, thinking it's going to cost me thousands and this sort of stuff. And it wasn't. It was fine. And my dog was fine. Got back home and I took chicken out the freezer. And I thought, why am I taking chicken out the freezer when I'm going to eat an animal, when I've actually just was prepared to pay thousands of pounds for an animal? And it's just like, something happened. I didn't mean to go vegan. And funny enough, actually, a couple of weeks before, my son had brought his girlfriend home and she was a vegan. And I remember thinking it was almost like an alien was coming to visit. I did not know what to feed her. I thought they probably breathed special air. It was like, everything. So I remember going to the shop and saying, oh, what do I feed? I've got this vegan coming. And it was just like hilarious. I thought it was like literally like a different sort of like person, a different type of person. So I remember like struggling with what to feed this person. And then I looked and I thought, actually, it's not that difficult. And then this thing happened and I was like, I took this chicken out and I put it straight in the bin. I thought, that's weird. Something's happened to me. So I get up quite early. By the next morning, I'd researched some stuff and I'd looked up, and Joe Carbstrong was quite big in the news at the time. He'd had an argument with Jeremy Paxman over a ham sandwich. And then I'd listened to Gary Yourofsky, the best speech ever. So by the time my husband got up about 10 o'clock, 9:30, maybe earlier, I was like, oh, I've gone vegan. And he's like, oh, okay. And I'd gone sober like 8 years ago. I'd found I just started drinking way too much. I work hard. So I was like, working late with a glass of Chardonnay and then a second glass and then whatever, loads. So he knew that I meant it. So he's like, oh, right. Okay. So she's vegan. And someone said, I said, what do I do? And I reached out to some friends and they said, watch What the Health and watch Dominion. So that night we watched What the Health and Dominion. And by 5 minutes into What the Health, my husband said, well, I'm vegan now. And that set us on our journey. So he's very health conscious. So, and then within a couple of weeks, I was like, I wanted to shout that I was vegan. So I wanted to find clothing, and all the clothing I could find, and this is very much a generalization because now vegan clothing has moved on so much. And for me, it's about a message. I wanted something that would start a conversation, but all the things I could find were things like the activism style t-shirts, like a man on top of a cow with a dagger, and, like blaming meat eaters and stuff like this. And it's just not how I felt. I felt like I was suddenly rushed full of love and compassion and kind, even more. I felt like I was kind, but I just suddenly like saw the light. I couldn't believe there was so much suffering. How had I not seen it? And and I sort of like wanted to evangelize, if you like, but I couldn't find anything I wanted to wear. And I've also got a marketing agency business, and through that we used to do merchandising like mugs and t-shirts, and I thought, oh, I wonder if I could do like t-shirts for me, or sweatshirts for me. And so I think it was literally about a month after I went vegan, I set up Vegan Happy, because I just wanted to start conversations. And that's literally where we're still at. We run our profits, our profits are quite low. We keep them low deliberately because we really want the logo out there. It's deliberately subtle, it's deliberately small, it's deliberately monochrome. We have got some larger prints, like I've got one on now, but generally our stuff is deliberately subtle, because it almost I look at the brands I like, and I like things like All Saints and Jack Wills, and where they're all little logos, they're all quite subtle, they don't overshadow. And that's literally where we started out. I couldn't find what I wanted to wear. And I just felt there was a gap for the sort of clothing that wouldn't overshadow, but would start a conversation. And that was 5.5 years ago. And that's my story of how I got here.
That's amazing. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
All happened really fast. So it's so interesting. Amazing. And also just shows like how we can, sometimes something just clicks, doesn't it? And then you just roll with it. And yeah, amazing. Well done. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I had a parcel just get delivered, so just ran back downstairs.
Yeah, so that's why I'm quite big on people's journey, because I think that we never really know how people are gonna. You were talking earlier about activism and how we can affect other people. We never quite know how our behavior is going to affect other people, and I think one of them is, this is generalizing again, this is just my view, is if you're really kind and you're really caring, and we live because for me, veganism it is about the animals. Of course it is. It's only about the animals. But, if we go out into the world and show up as kind, caring, loving, there's no point like not sacrificing animals and eating vegan diet and then going out and being a right nasty person. Do you know what I mean? It's how we show up in every face of our life, I think, for me anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that makes a lot of sense. And also we want to be the best advocates we can for animals. And if we come in sort of and start off on the wrong foot, and I also do get angry sometimes and get upset sometimes, and sometimes I've had heated conversations with people, but really I actually watched a lot of and listened to all of Ed Winter's podcast to try and train myself to having like meaningful conversations with people. So, and remember that in every conversation we have about veganism, that, we are advocating for animals, and we can't do that if we're shouting and being angry at somebody. They're not going to be receptive and listen to what we've got to say. So, but it can be tricky, can't it? I've got a question for you. So Vegan Happy clothing is ethically made and sustainable. And I just wonder how challenging that's been for you when you're competing with the general market that might not hold all of those values.
Yeah, so as we know, like a lot of clothing can be deemed vegan in essence, like 100% cotton would be deemed vegan because there's no animal products. But we like to look at like the whole supply chain. So when we started, we only picked PETA approved products, because then we knew that they were already like vegan. And then we worked some other brands as well, a brand called Result, but like we've looked at their whole supply chain, we've spoken to them, we looked at their factories they produce it in, and they've got like really strong labor laws and things like this, which is, some of the things we can't make ourselves. We've started making some of our own clothes as well. So we only go to sustainable factories, we look at, like also like their female percentage in their workload, workforce. We just want it to be like a male workforce. We've looked at some collectives in India, and they're quite male dominant, some of them. And we're like, it's really important that we have like the female representation, like good work practices, good pay, things like that. So when we make our own stuff, we're really strict on that. We don't make huge amounts ourselves. We've got like new robes in and bags and things like that. And our first question when we get someone wanting to work with us is, oh, it's amazing, I need some leather jackets doing. Can you do me some leather jackets? And they go, yeah. And I go, oh, can't work with you, block. Because it just weeds out all those people. But when people say, no, we can't work with leather because we're an ethical company, we say, right, okay, now we can talk to you. So yeah, it's really difficult. it's really difficult to, it's not difficult now because I've got my head around it, if you like, but you know, we know where we can go and where we can't go, who we can work with, who we can't work with. And now we're making more of our own stuff. We're much more in control of that. And of course, the ultimate goal is to make all of our own stuff. But that brings different problems because obviously in the retail environment, you know, like things are squeezed really tight. You know, fast fashion is a big thing, which we, you know, which is not a good thing, you know, like things, you know, where we hope our stuff, our hoodies, like this is a Peter, it's just so lush. If this is not around in 20 years, it might be a bit raggy at the edges, but it will still be standing. You know, if people buy one garment from us and it lasts forever, then we're happy, you know, because we're doing our job, if you like, but we don't want things just to be used and thrown away. And if something does go wrong, like maybe a seam comes undone or something like that, we say to people, right, we're going to put it right for you because we want you to be wearing that. We don't want things to be falling apart on people. It's important that we're seen as like sustainable, long-term, you know, not throwaway. Yeah.
Amazing. It seems like such a huge effort, and I can testify that things do last and get washed and last fine, and colors are perfect and logo is still intact and all of that kind of stuff. But it's amazing to hear like all the care that you put into finding your suppliers and whatnot. And also I would say that just going on your site and looking at everything you've got available, there's so many like timeless pieces that are still that are always going to be fashionable. So it's not that you have to sacrifice, you know, being fashionable in the moment because you want something that lasts a long time, but you've got something for everyone and something for every occasion that will still be fashionable in however many years time. So yeah, well done on that. I think
that's so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the next question we have is sort of bringing it back to the logo. I know you've already said why it's more of a subtle logo, you know, and that was something that you really wanted to see in the market. So you created it, which is great. It's the best way to do things, maybe if you can't, you know, but kind of going back to that, what are some of the conversations that you found that logo has inspired?
Firstly, my husband designed it first pass. I just said I need a logo and he designed it and it was just perfect. So I was like, right, okay, you don't know what you're looking for, but you got it. A lot of our people get stopped when they're actually out having food. So I get stopped a lot in supermarkets, a lot. For food advice, or you know, really weird things like, you know, what dressing would I put with this, you know, to bring out the flavor in the vegetables. And like I've been asked about winter salads more times than I can think if I'm in the oil aisle. I don't know anything about winter salads, but I just blag it. So a lot of our people get stopped if they're like out having food, and people will say, oh, like you're vegan, you know, what are you eating, and things like that. So yeah, so a lot of people, it's generally like probably in supermarkets and the food aisles, and dog walking as well. A lot of people seem to get stopped dog walking. A lot of our people, you know, wearing the robes and stuff, a lot of people seem to get stopped dog walking. And the question with dog walking is, you know, I wouldn't mind going vegan, but, you know, my family wouldn't go vegan with me, because I think that's a big problem, isn't it? A lot of people say, like, I'd still have to cook for my family, and also dogs. But my dog is on Omni dog food now, and there's proven results to show that dogs actually thrive on vegan diets and will live longer. And it's not just, you know, one test. You know, this is like, you know, proven, you know, scientifically now that dogs will like live longer on a vegan diet. So, you know, a lot of dog walkers get stopped with our logo on and things like that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's almost like unnoticeable. So like when I used to live in the country a couple of years ago, and I used to be like, you know, walking through hunting, shooting land. You know, my next door neighbor was a hunter. You know, I'm walking through fields where, you know, horses would fly over, not when I was there, because that definitely wouldn't be happening. I'd be like laying across the thingy or something. But, you know, like it was hunting, shooting land. You know, all the farmers, you know, were very, you know, pro hunting, you know, very old school, you know, that sort of stuff. You know, like my field next to me was full of sheep, you know, things like this. And ultimately why I moved is that I couldn't deal with the fact that I would see these lambs and then not see the lambs, sort of thing. I've got rescue sheep of my own, and I couldn't deal with it. But I would have more conversations in our local pub about being a vegan from farmers than anyone else I've ever had. You know, they were like, you know, I wouldn't mind transitioning. I'm not making enough money. How do I transition? So then you talk to them about, you know, like, you know, staunch people, you know, who've been doing this for generations, then start talking about, I don't know what else to do. This is what I've always done. But because you're not like slamming them for, like killing cows or killing sheep, and you are approachable, they go, I don't know. So then you go, okay, well, give me your number and I'll send you some links, because there are a lot of like schemes at the moment and programs for people to transition from agriculture, isn't it, to like crops and stuff. So they just need a little bit of help, and they need help also, like talking to their families about how do we change what we've done for so many generations, because it's like what they've always known. But as we know, farming animals, it's just not profitable anymore. It's underpinned so much by the government. They get so much subsidy. It will come at some point where it will topple, because like meat consumption is going down, it's being underpinned more money is being used to subsidize it. There are more vegans now. So I probably had more discussions in the local pub, but with farmers, about what could they do to transition, which is probably the least place you'd expect to have it. But yeah.
But also really powerful. That's kind of where you want it to be. And I think what you touched on is really important. I always try to think about it. Sometimes it can feel like it's such a long way away that we can switch sort of the traditional farming methods. But then I think about that not that long ago, farmers were producing nothing but hay because we rode around in horse on carts, and farmers felt threatened by the invention of the car, because what am I going to do? Because the horse and carts are going to be redundant. And they managed to evolve and change there, and of course we would like them to move on to not still using animals. But I think it shows that it can happen and it can be done. And I think with the right support, and it's like you say, that sometimes people just don't know where to start, don't know where to go. And also, like, I had a conversation with someone at the weekend I think her grandfather was a farmer, and her family are very focused on environment, and so that's why they've started looking into sort of more plant-based options and whatnot. And she said, it's difficult because I don't want to make my granddad feel like a bad person because he was a farmer. We're like, well, he's not a bad person. We just know more now. We're more knowledgeable now. People can evolve and change and grow. And I'm sad to say I wasn't born vegan. It took a long time for me. So it's not that we think anybody is bad people. It's just that, some people need some help and support and signposting where to go. And I think you touched on it, like government subsidies, that needs, that would be a huge one, because at one kind, we've also seen that there's a lot of interest from farmers who are willing to transition and willing to change some of the methods that they use with the right support and help to do so. And so I think the more we can tell people about that, then, that can drive change, can't it?
100%. I went to, I don't know if this is digressing too much, but I went to a wedding in France a couple of years ago. And I'd booked this like little gîte or whatever it was on this. I didn't realize I thought it was in the country. I didn't realize it was on a farm. So I get there and I'm like, oh no, it's on a farm. So it turns out that it had been a dairy farm for generations and generations and generations. But I looked at the crops and I said, what crops are these? And they said soya. I was like, right, okay. So what it turned out is that the family, it got to the son to take it over, but the son was allergic to the animals. So as a result, they had to completely change everything. So generationally, they had to completely change everything because the son was allergic to it. So they had to switch to crops, but they were making so much more money out of the crops. It was a lot less work because with the watering and the crops, you need a lot less man management. It was a lot more profitable. So as a result, in this area of France, a lot of the other farms have learnt from their model and they're like starting to adopt the similar thing. So it's really interesting where these like seeds get planted.
Mm-hmm.
But, like rural France is learning from, because a guy was allergic. Do you know what I mean? It's not from an animal's point of view, but they're thinking, even if people go vegan because of profit, my husband went vegan because of health. He watched What the Health and he said, I'm 50 now, I want to be fit and healthy. Now he's all for the animals, so I went because I didn't know why I'd gone, but now I'm all for the animals. I think it's just really interesting how the journey fascinates me, how people get to it from such different avenues.
And once you start on it, then you start to learn all the other things, don't you? So I think it just opens the door. Yeah, definitely. I've got a wee question for you. So Vegan Happy is all about promoting veganism in a really positive light. You know, nice subtle logo, nice fashion. It allows us to kind of express ourselves in a way that maybe, you know, yeah, it's different. I would say very different and all really positive, which is brilliant. And nothing personally makes me happier than being vegan. Like that ultimately is what makes me happiest in myself. But it can also be, or at least for me, a lonely and difficult position. So I just wanted to ask you, and I'm kind of doing a leading question here because I know where your other side is, but maybe you can share with everyone else. But do you sometimes find it difficult to constantly maintain the positive and happy approach? And if so, like how do you combat that? And do you have anything else as an alternative outlet?
Yeah, so someone asked me the other day, like, do I have like the angry side? The anger, because my husband, when we went vegan, he became an angry vegan. And 5 years later, he's still an angry vegan. He's so angry about it, but he's one of those people that he won't actually get involved. He thinks that the work that we do, there'll be no change. He just thinks that there's too much apathy and stuff like this. So I get that, and I don't really understand the apathy, but I do understand it. But he's very angry. For me, there's like an inner sadness. There's an inner sadness that I can't do more, and that people aren't doing more, and that we're not doing it quick enough. So I set up exposingcruelty.com, which was initially focused on the vivisection industry. And we've focused on the vivisection industry. Primarily it was around the beagles, because I've got a beagle, and 2,000 beagles a year are bred in Cambridgeshire for vivisection. And we know that over 90%, or I don't know if everyone knows, but over 90% of animal testing does fail. This is fact. This is not me just saying it now as you know, this is not me just saying it now as a soundbite. It's in black and white paper that over 90%, I think it's 94%, 95% of animal testing fails. And then the other small percentage takes us down roads that produce misleading results, like, blood transfusions was delayed by hundreds of years because, the results were so misleading. And we just don't need to test on animals anymore, as America's proved and Europe's proved that, they have eliminated that now. It's only the UK, for some reason, stuck in the middle, that still want to test on animals. So for me, vivisection is the thing that I focus my anger on, my sadness on. We recently were very lucky that we've got, I love this name, Dave the Beagle is now our Beagle ambassador. And he was rescued from a toxicology lab where in France, Beagles of Burgundy rescued him, and a girl in the UK called Kerry rescued him and brought him to England. And we've just put a video up on our channels, which interestingly has got banned by Instagram. It starts off all cute with Dave having fun and like Christmas outfits, but then it shows the horrors. So of course Instagram blocks that because they don't want the world to really see what's going on unless it's like propaganda that they put out. But, like these tests have been done for no reason, which makes me angry. So, I spend when I'm feeling sad or when I've got my downtime, I don't really do my downtime. I try and help animals if I can. And I think that if anyone can do anything, write to their MP, or, like you mentioned earlier, Animal Justice League, they're doing such incredible work, share their posts, just even sharing people's posts is such a powerful thing to do. Tell your friends, these people all become influencers that help change things and help make decisions. So yeah, so I've set up Exposing Cruelty, and that is my my activism side, if you like. So my background's marketing. So we have people that are much more direct action, but my background's marketing. So, I can do the website. We've got a festival coming this year, and, if we can just change one person's mind, we might have 2,000 people there, but if one person goes home and it's changed them to get active, then that's enough. Hopefully it's 2,000 people will go home and be active, but we've got to forget, we shouldn't forget that just one person can change the world. I believe anyway.
Absolutely. And we've got to take those small wins as well, haven't we? I think that also tops up our own personal drive to keep going, is that we can influence people into making change.
Yeah, we on another note, I managed to get some hunt beagles rescued last year. I lied and said I was someone else. I got a tip off twice actually, and we got 6 out of 1 hunt kennels that were just going to be shot basically, and we got some 4 out of another. So I forgot about that till recently, and someone said, don't forget those hunt beagles, and I was like, oh my god, I'd forgotten about that. So there's all these little hunt beagles running around now that wouldn't be, and you forget about things like that, but that's such a big win. And yeah, but I think like you say, there's so much to do. You get consumed by the next thing, don't you? You almost forget about that, and you get consumed by the next thing because there's so much to do.
For sure.
I mean, that kind of leads on to another question here, because you spoke about a lot of ways that you engage in activism, but people can often assume that activism is only leaflet dropping, taking part in protest vigils, very in-person things, probably mainly in cities sometimes. Do you think that wearing vegan clothing, such as vegan happy, is a sign of activism? And also, could you elaborate on more ways to do kind of positive activism that maybe people wouldn't think of or know of?
Yeah, I think the word activism has changed, and I think that when I first went vegan, and I thought, right, okay, well, I've gone vegan now. I need to do a vigil. That was my next thing. I was like, I need to do a vigil because that's what I could see people doing. And it turns out I don't think I ever could do that. But I have been to Camp Vegan and heard that, which is the most horrific sound. But I think we feel like obliged to do stuff. We feel, to be a good vegan, we have to do certain things. And I think that's not the case. So we did outreach last week in London. And it's really apparent from our team that some people really like engaging and other people don't like engaging. We had some giveaway little bands. Some people felt really happy with giving some stuff away. Other people felt happy being part of a group. Some people don't want to do that at all. So I read a book last year. It's called Blueprint for Revolution. You can get it on all the bookstores. And it's about a group called Otpor, I think, and it's about how 5 students in Serbia overthrew Slobodan Milosevic, who was ethnically cleansing all the Muslims. And what they were saying is that you don't have to have aggression. I mean, Slobodan Milosevic obviously was a dictator, and he had all the army at his control. He had all the firepower, but 5 students overthrew him. And they looked at it from a different way. They looked at it. It was all about peaceful protest. It was all about trying to amass the people to get them to do things without them almost like feeling like they were doing anything, really. They wanted to be part of it. So that's a really amazing book to read, Blueprint for Revolution. It's absolutely amazing. So you start to look at, and they do it in China as well. I can't recite the projects, but in China, where you really are controlled as to what you can do and what you can't do. How do you protest in China? So one of the new things they're doing is, or I think this might be an old thing now, but they hold up white placards. There's nothing on it. There's no messaging, but the white placard shows that they're protesting at how they're being treated and the oppression that they've got. So they hold up white placards. But going back from the placard thing, we get a lot of people saying, we'd love to help you with the beagles. We'd love to help you do what you do. But, I'm in a wheelchair, or I've got kids, or I can't get out. And then we work with people. There's so much to do. So we've got a festival to plan. So we've got people that are helping us get our lineup sorted. We've got people that are helping us with an MP campaign to lobby the government to put animals higher on the agenda. Social media is such a powerful tool. Sharing people's posts, following the right people, signing petitions is a massive thing as well, because once the petitions get to 100,000, they're government ones, they have to be listened, they have to be debated in Parliament. So if it's a government petition, it gets to 100,000, it has to be debated in Parliament. So there's so much people can do that is, almost like behind a screen. You don't have to leave your own home. You can do it on the quiet. You can do it when the kids are asleep. So activism, the word has changed. And going back to it, vegan clothing definitely is a powerful message, and not just vegan clothing, any clothing with a message is extremely powerful. We were talking earlier about food being extremely powerful in activism. I don't know about you, but when you look at vegan food channels, it is like, they call it food porn, don't they? It's just addictive. I've never been interested in cakes before. I look at cakes now and it's like the heavens are opening and all these like stars are raining down. It's just incredible. You know, you look at food and you're like, I didn't know food could be so beautiful. So I think that food is another form of activism, and also feeding food to other people as well. So like when I think Lauren was mentioning it, when people come to you, if you cook vegan food well, so take time and get some recipes that you can get good at, and they don't have to be complicated, they can be really simple, but something that's like a drop in, like maybe a chili, because like everyone like eats a chili, or a burger, or you know, a curry or something. You know, give them something that they think that was just gorgeous. So you know, like get it right. You know, don't give them like smiley faces, sausage and beans. You know, give them something that's like proper home cooked, but maybe similar to what they would eat themselves, and they don't realize they're eating vegan food. I think is a really strong form of activism, because they will go and talk about that. They will go and talk about that. And also full bellies. I think people think that if you're vegan, you are hungry all the time. So when they go home with full bellies, I think that's a really good thing. They're like, okay, I was just stuffed. But yeah, food and, you know, vegan clothing, definitely a strong form of activism. There's so much.
That's what I do. I'm a feeder for sure.
Yeah.
I love food, and also I love I think I never enjoyed cooking as much as I do since I went vegan, because finding all sorts of other things that you can use and, you know, buy, and, you know, using the chickpea water to bake is just incredible. You know, there's all these things I hadn't even thought of. Tofu, how did I live without tofu? I don't know. So yeah, I'm definitely a feeder, and most of my friends actually are non-vegan, but I am still voted the best chef out of all of us, so everybody wants my cooking when I'm coming around. So that's my small part of activism is on the food side. I totally agree. It's a really big way to inspire people and get them thinking about
Love it.
possibilities, and that you're not missing out on anything. You're not missing out on taste or old, you know, the recipes we grew up on. I even taught my 77-year-old auntie how to make what we have in Scotland as tatties and mince. So really, you know, simple minced gravy, onions and mashed potatoes. And I taught her how to make that vegan, so that now she can feed me when I go to visit her. And, you know, just anybody can make changes. So I totally agree with that. And you're right, there's so many ways to be an activist. I have popped all the links that you've mentioned so far in the chat, so if anybody's missed those, they're in the chat, as well as the link to Blueprint for Revolution, which I'm also really interested in reading now, and also the link to join One Kind as an animal advocate. So that's a special group of supporters that we have that take part in letter writing, or, you know, writing to venues. They recently wrote to venues about reindeer being used in festive events. You know, you can write to your MP. So we have sort of special campaigns for our animal advocates. So if you'd like to join, then the link is in there as well. I've got loads more questions. I'm going to keep firing through. Sorry, really putting you on the spot here.
Love it.
So you recently launched Vegan Happy in the US, and I would love to hear more about how you started this little business yourself. Now you're like all over the UK, and now you're in the US. How did that happen, and what's the next plans?
Yeah, so we've interestingly, I just thought, well, the model here should surely work out there. My son actually lives in Boston, or near Boston. So I thought, you know, again, selfishly, I work a lot. I work really hard. So like, I'm thinking selfishly, if I have to like have time, why don't I spend it with him? And then I can still like work. We've pulled back from it slightly at the moment. We've temporarily closed it, only because we really struggle to find partners. And this is only from my experience, but I'm really struggling to find the decoration partners. So my decoration partners in the UK, it's almost like we've grown up together, and decoration is the embroidery or the printing. So much so that when we actually started working together, they would actually use animal products in their silks and stuff like this. Now they don't. They have nothing. They have, you know, no dye. You know, it's all completely vegan. completely vegan process for them as well. And they even when they're sourcing for clients, they will choose much more ethically sourced products, everything like that. But in America, it's just so different. And the pace they work at just didn't work for me. So I'm still in the process of trying to find the right partner out there. But yeah, no, we do want to expand. We do want to expand because we think our model will drop in anywhere, but it's finding the right partners that work like us. You know, it's almost like if I could find the right vegan in Boston, I need to find a vegan person and then like get them to do like our stuff. I think that's it. Rather than trying to find the supplier and manage it from here, I think I need to find, you know, the person and then do it that way. But we've slightly pulled back from Boston. But yeah, no, it's been an adventure.
That's okay. And also it's amazing sticking to your values and being like, no, this isn't quite right for what we want, and then saying we'll sort of pause that until we can find the right person. If anybody knows the right vegan in Boston, please.
Yeah. So like we've got 100% 5-star rating, 100%. And as a result, you know, I don't want anything to dent that. You know, one day we are going to get, I don't know, a 4-star rating, and I'm going to actually probably hole up for a week and cry my eyes out, because every time we get a review, I'm like, oh no, please let it be good, please let it be 5-star, because obviously things go wrong, but we always try and put them really right, like spectacularly right, we say. But when it was in Boston, we were like, we just couldn't control the process, and I just thought, I don't want anything to damage what we've set up. But yeah, so Boston will come back.
Kind of following on from that, I have a question. That's, what are your positives and challenges of running Vegan Happy?
My positives and challenges is right now it's work. We're just flat out. It's just mad. So probably the challenges are like the peaks and troughs in the year. So like you're either crazy or a little bit quiet. Our challenge or our project after Christmas is to grow our following. So on our social media and on our orders, we have huge engagement, but our social media following isn't as high. So our next thing is to really get our following up. That's our, but our positives are every single order that goes out, we pack it. We say we pack it with love, but we do. We always put free gifts in. Like at the moment, it's Christmas air fresheners or like little bracelets or what have you like that. So we literally, every order that goes out, we just feel like we're sending vegan love. We literally do feel like that. And I'll describe my office at the moment. So I'm in one office, and then the other office, which is where everything's made up, is my daughter, who is working for free right now. She'll get some sort of Christmas bonus, but she's working for free because we're flat out. And my little granddaughter is in a playpen watching a film while we work. So we're definitely much like quite a family business. So that's a positive. The positive is that I get to work with my family. My son works in America. He's in America, but he still works part of the team. He does all our social media. So that's the positive is, and I feel like we're doing something. You know, I feel like we're doing really positive activism. You know, I feel like we've got really positive activism. You know, our messaging, even if we have a large message, is always positive. It's always happy. One of my favorites is vegan is love. But the challenges is maintaining a profit. It's really difficult to maintain a profit. In 5 years, I've still not taken a salary out. You know, I see us as still in build phase. You know, most retail brands go bust within the first 3 years. I've still not taken a salary out. The first person that will get paid will be my daughter. We've had people before and they've got paid, but we're still in build phase. We're still trying to establish, as far as I'm concerned. I want to be here in like, you know, in years to come, you know, still spreading the same message. But profit's a big issue for us because, you know, like there's rising costs on our products that we don't always want to pass on to the customers. So that means that our profits get eroded. So that's always difficult. Trying to stay afloat is difficult. Yeah.
So on that note, if anybody has any gifts that they still need to buy for Christmas, I can highly recommend Vegan Happy. I will also be buying some on there too, but there's loads of great things. So we've also popped the link into the shop as well. If anybody hasn't had a chance to have a look yet, please go and do that. There's so much stuff on there. But yeah, and it's really like honest and amazing that you share that story, because it really shows that you're trying to build something that's really important and value, like that valuable to you. It's not about making money, it's about spreading the message, and of course everyone needs to survive. So yeah, but I mean, I've followed you for a long time, and I can definitely see that you have grown, and I really hope that everybody gets behind and supports you, because I think your stuff is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
I love it.
An interesting thing actually just popped out of that is the new robes that we've made, and the ones that were in there already. Like there's ones that are black, navy, red and blue, and then other ones that we've made ourselves, which are in the aqua and stone. These all weather robes. We know, because of our price point, we're 100 quid under like the market leader. We know because of our price point, we've got loads of non-vegans wearing our clothes. So how cool is that we've got non-vegans wearing a vegan logo thing? So we just think that's awesome. So we're ordering loads more in because we know loads of non-vegans are buying them. So I'm like,
then that can spark other things as well. My sister-in-law is actually one of those people. So when I was over visiting in Scotland, we had a load of snow, and I wasn't in at the time, and I had my hat with me. So my sister and her partner went out to build, like to play with the kids in the snow, and then they posted a picture on Instagram, and she's wearing my vegan happy hat, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. She's like, I love this hat. So it's great, isn't it? Spread it to all the people that you know.
Perfect.
I've got one more question for you, which is, and you kind of have covered it a little bit, but I think it's good to just remind us, is how do you encourage and engage in positive conversations around veganism?
I think for me, I have, like, it took me 50 years to go vegan, which I'll kick myself for forever. But I think for me, I'm like, my husband's really angry at people, and he's like, you need to go vegan, you need to do this now, and like, rah, animal oppression, rah. Like, you don't want to get him drunk because he's like the most awful dinner companion ever. Like, I just can't take him anywhere. But my thing is, it took me 50 years. And I think the way I do it is like compassion and understanding and calm and conversation. And, and I've listened to some of Ed's talks. I need to listen to some more, but that's how I try and do it. I try and like ask them what would be the things that would stop them going vegan. What would stop you from going vegan? And they say, oh, I don't know what I'd eat. And so almost like you can address the issues that they have rather than just telling them they've got to do something. Because I think for me, it would never work if someone told me to do something. I would be like, well, I'm not doing that, even if I knew it was exactly the right thing to do. So, but if someone actually listened to my thoughts and feelings, I would be much more likely to respond. And then when people ask me, I mean, I have loads of people, when you're out for dinner, people say, could I try your food? And I hate sharing food, but I'm like, of course you can have some of this. But I think that, calm, compassion, kindness, understanding as well. I think that it might not happen then. I think that I know people that I've spoken to that it's taken years for them to go vegan, but the thought starts then. So I know people that are vegan now. It took my daughter a whole year. My son is probably 95% there now, but I've now got a fully vegan daughter and a vegan grandchild. But I know people that have gone vegan as a result of conversation with me, but it didn't happen instantly. So it's then support and nurture and questions and no blame. Like I think that with veganism, we've got to get away from this whole you eat meat, so you're bad. Like that's this is only my view. That's wrong. If someone's not vegan, they just haven't seen the light yet. And I've got in my beautifully like rose tinted world, I really believe we're all going to be vegan, but I think we might go for different reasons. So I think we might go for the climate, we might go for health. A lot of people get, cancer and they go on a diet. The doctors put them on a vegan diet to increase their chances of recovery. Well, if that's the case, why not do that all the time? So, you've got people coming at it from so many different avenues. So for me, I think that I just come at it with kindness, and support and nurture and no blame. And I think also these people doing like meat-free Fridays or, like cruelty-free beauty, that's another form of like activism. The Cruelty Cutter app, I don't know if you've seen it, but that's amazing. If everyone downloads the Cruelty Cutter app, which was developed by the Beagle Freedom Project, I don't know if you know that, but the Beagle Freedom Project developed a Cruelty Cutter app. You just need to install it. It applies to all beauty products, and you can be in the supermarket and instantly choose cruelty free. And if they haven't got cruelty free there, you just leave and you go somewhere else, because it's only by boycotting things can we make change. It's only by boycotting and buying cruelty free can we help those brands that are set up. Another thing I love as well actually is Etsy, which I didn't realize stands for easy to sell yourself. So Etsy is great for other vegan brands starting up. So you support small vegan brands that might be just making a t-shirt or might be making some soap or whatever like that. We don't need to shop large, we can shop small. So that's a new big thing for me as well, is supporting smaller, switching from supermarkets, supporting smaller. Yeah, and I think I've spoken to a few of them. A lot of those small vegan brands are people like me that went vegan and thought, I can't really find something that's not mass produced that I want to wash myself with or spray myself with, or so yeah. So I think, you know, and just positivity really for me. And don't get me wrong, like there is an angry side to me, you know, I'm angry that there's so much animal oppression, but at the same time there's so much beauty in this world that, you know, and people are inherently kind, aren't they? We just sort of like need to find the right tone for them and have a conversation. So it's just trying to get to have that conversation, I think.
Kind of leading on from that, one of my questions that I had was, how do you encourage and engage in positive conversation in veganism? I think you've already, you know, completely covered that and gave some really good advice and tips on that. But it just sounds like, you know, you work so hard and you've managed to keep such a positive outlook. As you say, you know, you managed to channel that anger even in a, you know, productive way. What or who inspires you to, you know, kind of carry that mindset each day?
Oh, do you know what? So many people. Firstly, anyone that's doing anything. So everyone that's on this webinar inspires me, because you're all doing something. You know, what you're doing at One Kind, you inspire me. Juliet Galatly, I'm lucky enough, she was one of the judges on our Face of Vegan Happy competition. She hugely inspires me. You know, she started out in a caravan, you know, she's here 30 years later, you know, doing, you know, campaigns that get the ASA stopping them. They're that like cutthroat. So anyone that's doing anything really, anyone that shows up inspires me. You know, cold wintry days, and anyone that gets on with a demo, with a placard, you know, anyone that spends any time inspires me. Just people that show up, I think. But if you're looking for like names really, I like Ed Winters because he's shown there's a different way to talk. You know, he's shown that you don't have to be angry, that you can be calm and focused. And he's obviously a very erudite, intelligent person. I like the way he can shape an argument around, you know, from conflict into positivity. I like that. Juliet Galatly, I absolutely adore her. But then because I've got my exposing cruelty side, I'm starting to look and be inspired by people like Animal Justice League. I love their undercover work. I love you know, the frontline stuff, people are prepared to get arrested, that sort of stuff. You know, that's not for me. I can't get arrested. I wouldn't get to America, I wouldn't see my family. It's a little bit selfish, but that's the way it is where I am right now in my life, sort of thing. But yeah, anyone that shows up, anyone that does anything, you know, anyone that's got, you know, a YouTube channel, anyone that's got a social media channel, anyone, carnism debunked, anyone that's doing anything inspires. So to be honest, and the one I like at the moment is I'm going to swear, it's Danny effing Price. He's on social media as well, and he's not necessarily a vegan, but he shines a light on injustice that's happening right now. And I really like him because he's standing up there waiting for people to take pot shots at him, and they will. You know, he's in grave danger of being like sent to prison probably most of the time. But anyone that's just doing anything is an inspiration.
I agree, and I've just been frantically popping all those links to things to people that you've mentioned. And I also agree with you that for me, Ed is who I try and learn from in my way of communication. and try to have calm conversations. Sometimes I'm in awe of how he manages to do some of these, you know, where he has the argue with me outside universities or debate with me. I think it's so impressive. And I try to remember that when I'm caught in a conversation where maybe I don't know the right fact, or maybe I'm inside getting really angry or defensive, or it can be really tricky. So I would highly recommend listening to Ed's podcast, or also reading his books. So I have read the This is Vegan Propaganda and Other Lies the meat industry tells you, and that was fantastic. And he does have a new book out as well, which is How to Argue with a Meat Eater and Win Every Time. So I would say that.
Got that. I'll get that one.
I know it's out for pre-order, so I would definitely order it. And I also just love just having that lying on my coffee table when people come in or walk by. That in itself, oh, that's interesting, because it's a provocative headline, but actually the books themselves are very factual, very evidence-based, and just help us apply logic. So I agree with everyone that you've mentioned. I find them all really inspiring, and just find anyone who does something and stands up for something they believe in.
In fact, I just had a thought, if I can just mention it. When we were talking about people that like it are cool, we were in London doing our outreach recently, and one of the girls in our team, or two of the girls in our team, one of which had already rescued an owl that morning. There was a pigeon that had like all the twine around its leg, and it basically was disabled. It couldn't go anywhere, it couldn't fly, it couldn't do anything. So we managed to find another vegan that was Vegan Talks, I think they were called. He stopped to help. We managed to phone an activist that phoned someone else, and they sent a wildlife expert that focuses on London, who came and assessed the pigeon. It was put in the right height box because it has to be able to stand up. It came and assessed the pigeon that was really sick. It had the twine around its legs, but it also had an eye infection. So within about 2 phone calls, we managed to get like a pigeon expert to stop what they were doing and to come and rescue a pigeon, which, as we know, they're seen as like vermin to most people. But we managed to get this like person just fly through city of London to rescue a pigeon. So things like that, that's what inspires me. I mean, all of us showing up, what one kind of doing, everyone on this webinar, everyone that might listen to the webinar, everyone that might look at a social channel. But that pigeon expert the other day blew my mind. I was like, okay, that's cool. That's cool.
That's really cool. We've got one question left. I'm going to let Rachel ask it because she came up with it, and I think it's great. You're on mute, Rachel. Nope, you're still on mute, Rachel.
Sorry, I got carried away there. I was just asking, I'm not sure what is the good question that's left, because a lot of the best ones were Lauren's.
The last one.
The last one, okay, maybe. So what is your favourite collection or piece you've ever produced for Vegan Happy?
Oh, our robes now, the all-weather robes. Oh my God, oh my goodness. So they started out as you know, changing robes, so that when you come out of the sea or you've been surfing, what have you, you put it on and you're warm because it keeps you dry as well. But it basically, the inside is like Sherpa, so it dries you like a towel. So that was the original thing. But I wear mine as a comfort blanket. It's like hanging up over there. They're just beautiful. But like I said, I'm going to go to Boston. They're so warm, they're so beautiful, but they're becoming like the must-have, certainly, you know, now. So our all-weather robes are just, I cannot tell you how fast they're moving as well. But you know, the new ones, I've just chosen new colors. So the ones I designed myself, we had aqua with a cream lining, and we had the stone color, which has got a pale blue lining, and the new ones I've designed, there's like a pale lilac, and it's got like a pistachio color lining, which just should be awesome. And the other one's like a dusty green with cream. So for me, getting to choose those colors, getting to choose the colors, and knowing that, like, we call them robe adventures now. So people are going off on their robe adventures. So we see people like coming off the beach, or we see them like walking the dog, or so we've got all these robe adventure things that we follow. And I just love the idea that everyone's out there having an adventure in them. You know, it might just be sitting in a coffee shop adventure, but it's still an adventure. Of course, they've got like vegan stuff all over them as well. But yeah, our robes, love the robes, love. But also, got to love one of our beanies are awesome. They're all like, a lot of them aligned with, as Lauren will attest, a lot of them aligned with like thermal linings and stuff like that. But yeah, no, the all-weather robe by far is my favorite thing I've ever done. Yeah.
I've just popped the link to that one in the
Love
chat.
it. I think we've got two. So there's a black one, and then there's the one that we've made. But yeah, they're just to die for. And they're, like I say, they're like 100 quid under the market leader. So that's why they're flying out to non-vegans, because people are thinking, oh, it's got a vegan logo, but it's 100 quid less. So, but we're still making money. We still need to keep afloat. This is the thing. But you don't need to charge the earth. And this is the thing I think I've found about fashion, is that I saw a bag the other day. It was a silver bag. I found that as I've got older, I just love things like silver. It's like a magpie thing. It's ridiculous. And sequins, it's just terrible. But I saw this bag, and it was a vegan leather bag, but it was 350 quid, which some people have got the money for, but we're trying to make things for people that want things to last. So we've got that benchmark. We want it to last, but it's just got to be affordable. We always say affordable vegan, because we just think nowadays we've just got to be affordable. It's important that we've got the messages out there. So yeah, our bags aren't 300 quid.
Totally agree. Well, we've got through all of our questions and we're bang on time. And I just wondered if anybody else, if there's anything anyone can think of that we haven't covered and you would like to ask Lorri a question, please either pop it in the chat or feel free to take yourself off mute and ask away. I think we can spare a few minutes. And if not, then there's plenty of reading material with all the links that we've sent us.
Yeah, I'm just looking at all the stuff.
I agree with you on the Cruelty Cutter app. I use that quite regularly because I live in Denmark. Some of the brands are ones I don't know. So I don't know whether it's vegan or not, but it also works for me on household products as well, like cleaning products or whatnot. You just scan it. It's so easy.
It's mad, isn't it? Like I was actually in, I was doing a shop and I was in Tesco's doing something, and Tesco's are actually quite good for their vegan range. They've actually got quite a lot of good stuff. But I couldn't find a male deodorant. So they had all the female stuff, options for us, but nothing for men. And I thought, I am not buying something that is not, I'm just not. So I went into Boots, and Boots had two options. So it's like, well, that's money that Tesco lost. So, only by, foot power, isn't it? Walking somewhere else, can we change things?
One thing I was going to mention to you, another form of activism, that it was actually Rachel who pointed it out to me that this is a form of activism. One thing that I do when we were talking about food and all that kind of stuff, or restaurants, is if I visit a restaurant, or if I'm going to visit a restaurant that I don't know what their menu is or whatnot, if they don't have great vegan options, I'll write to them. So I'll drop them an email or try and contact them on their website, because especially if I notice that they maybe have no vegan starters and no mention that anything can be made vegan. Usually then what they'll have is a vegan burger and a tomato pasta as a main course, and then no vegan dessert. And that to me just screams token vegan thing to tick it off the list. So I always try to give feedback. And then likewise, if I visit a place, I'll contact them in advance to let them know even if their menu, if they do have quite a few options. And then I'll let them know afterwards as well, whether it was great or, the one thing that usually gets me is often there's no option of plant milk to have a flat white or a cappuccino or whatever, and not everybody, just because you're vegan, likes black coffee or tea or whatnot. So I think like that's a small part of activism that I do, and you can do that in a sort of you can do that from kind of behind the scenes, really, but it's really helpful. And it's a little bit like what you've said about voting with your feet. We can't ask people to change or complain about the options they provide if we're not complaining about what they currently have and doing it in a positive way.
Exactly. I went somewhere recently. I went up to Manchester. So I'm in the Midlands, and I went up to Manchester and I met some family up there. And went to this local place. And to be honest, I'd eaten there before, but I'd eaten there because it was her baby christening. So I hadn't checked out the menu, and I got there and I was like, there's nothing on this menu at all. Like there was not even a vegan burger. I was like, literally, this is like chip time, just chips. And let's put, so I spoke to the guy and he said, oh, no, we can do this dish vegan, and we can do you tofu, fish and chips. I think it was the best tofu fish and chips I've had. And I was like, why? And I went to him and I actually pulled him to one side. I said, look, I'm not really funny. I said, but you should just put that on your menu. I said, because that was really awesome. I said, but it will deter people from coming if you haven't got an option. I said, but it was so good. If you add it, you'll get really good TripAdvisor reviews for appealing to vegans. You know, I said, honestly, I said, it can only be good for you. So, but add it. I said, and also you've got, my big thing is vegan desserts. A lot of people don't have a vegan dessert. So they're doing the token meal thing. But what about the dessert? Like I told you, like once I went vegan, I want desserts all the time. I said, so they should have something that's at least vegan, and vegetarian also is not vegan. And I'm like, even if you do something that is vegan that will appeal to vegetarians as well, you've covered all your bases. You don't need to stock loads of stuff. You know, like it's sorbet all the way, isn't it, generally? But some places don't even have that. Yeah. So I just said, because they all run on TripAdvisor reviews, don't they? TripAdvisor and things like that. I said, you'll get such great reviews if you actually just widen it out a little bit. And he did. They've put it on their menu now. So
that's amazing.
You're absolutely right. You don't think about that, but it's all, if you do it in a positive way, it's all activism.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've also offered to help a few times, like with, you know, suggestions. I've also posted links, because the classic response I get regarding plant milk is, well, we just don't have enough demand for it and we end up throwing it all away. And I'm like, well, maybe you don't have demand for it, one, because you're not advertising that you have it and people maybe are afraid, you know, nervous to ask. I was like, but secondly, you can go online and you can buy, like what even EasyJet has, these little sort of moo-free sticks and of oat milk sticks that last forever. So it's not, you know, it's not going to be wasted. So I've also like just copied those links to people as well and said, just even having this, honestly, it makes a vegan's day if we know that we can have, if you like milk in your coffee or tea, having that, because it shows an extra thought, we are more likely to come back again. And also a lot of us dine with non-vegans, so you might not have a huge vegan footfall, but what if there's a party of 13 or 20 are coming and 2 of them are vegan and you can't accommodate them, then you've lost that party of 20. You know, so just getting people to think about those kinds of things can make a difference as well, and offering help, I think is really good.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any more questions coming in. I think that's probably because we've covered absolutely everything that we can get out of your brain in terms of clothing and activism and being positive. I think we have had lots of comments just saying like really interesting discussion, loved this. I think it's just been, I feel really good and really positive and inspired, and you're one of my inspiration for sure.
Oh, thank you.
So I would recommend everybody check out Vegan Happy Clothing. I'm actually on the website right now, ready, so I don't forget to order a couple of things. So,
thank you so much.
I think it's a really nice message that we can all do something, and support small businesses of people who are really trying to make a difference for animals. And thank you so much for joining us, and also for really kindly donating to our raffle. So you donated a bunch of prizes to our raffle, which raised a lot of money for us, so we're absolutely delighted, and it's been a real pleasure to work with you on this. So I think we'll finish off there, and just, I don't know if anybody celebrates Christmas or not, but regardless, I hope you have a really nice festive season and can spend time with the people and animals, and other things that bring you joy as well. And lots of love to your little lamb, Lorri.
Oh yes, he's big now. He's big. He still knows, like, apparently they know, or they recognize like 70 humans or other animals, and whenever I go, he's like, I know you're my mummy. And I'm like, you rescued me from a bin. I know, he's big now. But thank you for having me as well.
Of course.
And thank you for everyone listening. It's been so lovely to see you all. Thank you.
Yes.